What's up guys, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this comparison, so here it is. It's the Google Nexus 4 on the left versus the Sony Xperia Z on the right. Who's going to win? Let's find out. So let me just run down some specs. Over here on the Nexus 4 guys, we've got a 4.7-inch display with a resolution of 1280 by 768. So it is a HD display, it is above 720p, but I'm going to call it 720p just for the ease of it. The pixel density on this, guys, is approximately 318 ppi. Pretty decent. You're not going to see any pixels or anything like that. Underneath the hood, guys, we've got the S4 Pro, which is a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core CPU with the Adreno 320 GPU, and it also has 2 gigabytes of RAM. On the back, we have an 8 megapixel shooter, and on the front is a 1.2 megapixel camera. Over here on the Xperia Z, guys, we've got a 5-inch display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. So full HD over here. It has a PPI of 441, so it's staggeringly high. And underneath the hood, we have the same S4 Pro that's in the Nexus 4, clocked at 1.5 gigahertz, and with the Adreno 320. It also has 2 gigabytes of RAM. On the back, guys, we have a 13 megapixel shooter with LED flash, pretty massive and pretty impressive in terms of specs on the camera. And at the front, we have a 2 megapixel camera as well. Now, on the Xperia Z, it is waterproof and dustproof, and I made a video showing that. It does work, it is real, mainly due to the fact that these ports are covered by these little kind of flaps. You can see that. Okay, guys, moving on to design and build quality, and we'll start off with the Nexus 4 here. It's got glass on the front and glass on the back, and if I catch the light right, you can see that diamondy, shiny effect underneath the glass. That kind of reminds me of the stupid vampires of Twilight, but nonetheless, I like that. It's a cool design feature, and it stands out from other devices. You've got your Nexus branding in the middle, your LG branding at the bottom. There's one negative I'll give it, and it's well, it's kind of a negative for me. I'm sure it won't be for other people, but the buttons feel a little bit spongy for my liking. I'd rather them be a little bit more clicky, I guess. But they work. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a few creaks if you squeeze the device. Now, I'm not sure why you'd squeeze the device, but nonetheless, I was just testing out the build quality, and it's I still think it's the best built Nexus we have and the best design Nexus we've had, but there are still a few little niggly problems that would kind of annoy you if you had it out of the case all the time. But it's also a very fragile phone, guys. If you drop this device, it's going to smash all over the place due to it being glass everywhere. So yeah, make sure you get a case if you've got the Nexus 4. Moving on to the Xperia Z, guys, it's a well-built device as well. We've got glass on the front, glass on the back, no shiny effect there, and you can see it just picks up the fingerprints like a boss. I like the design, and like I said earlier, it's waterproof and dustproof, so in terms of build quality, it's fantastic. There's no creaks if I squeeze it. There's no rattles. There's nothing wrong with it. It's built very, very, very well, and the design as well is a love-hate thing. You're either going to like this rectangle design or you're not. I like it. I think it's a cool design. It's the standard Sony Xperia design, but yeah, the buttons as well on the right, you can see the power button and the volume rocker feel very solid, a lot more clicky than say my Nexus 4. But yeah, that's the design and build quality, guys. I just want to mention a quick thing about price, because that is quite important. Now, I'm going to do the prices in UK, but I bought the 16 gigabyte Nexus 4 for £279. The equivalent Sony Xperia Z is 500. So, you know, it is a lot more money, the Sony Xperia Z. Is it worth it for what you're getting? I'm not quite so sure. You know, you're getting the same internals as the Nexus 4, and the Nexus 4 is kind of half the price. So, yeah, take that into account in terms of price. Okay, let's move on to the camera. So on the Nexus 4, we've got an 8 megapixel camera. On the Sony Xperia Z, we have a 13 megapixel camera. And I've got to say, I've been very, very impressed with the Xperia Z's camera. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The quality of detail is great. And due to the fact that it has if I show you here, the Mobile Bravia Engine 2, which is an image quality enhancer for photos and videos, it makes them look absolutely fantastic. And I'll just demo the cameras for each here. I'll take a picture of this, my wallet. And the Nexus 4 camera is by no means bad. It just isn't quite up to the level of, say, the Xperia Z. But it's not a bad camera. I mean, you can see there, the quality is okay. It's decent. You can see there's a little bit of blur. It's not the sharpest image in the world. If we take the same picture here on the Xperia Z, and then we'll compare them, guys, and see the difference. Okay, the camera does take a while to open on this device though. So we've got a 13 megapixel camera here. You can already see it looks like more detail in the viewfinder itself. Here we go. Okay, there we go, and it's taken. And let's see it. So there's the picture. You can see that Sony Bravia engine kick in. A hell of a lot more detail on this picture than on my Nexus 4. The camera is definitely better on the Xperia Z. You can just see there the Bravia engine. Look how different it makes the image. It gives it more contrast and more color. I'm sure some people won't like that. It's kind of a fake image, but nonetheless, it does look quite nice. The level of detail as well on the Xperia is just higher. It's just a better picture. There's no two ways about it. The camera is definitely better on the Sony Xperia Z. So that's definitely a win for the Z, guys. Okay guys, time to talk about UI performance. Now under the hood, we know they both have the S4 Pro clocked at 1.5 gigahertz. We know they both have 2 gigabytes of RAM. So under the hood, they are basically the same. Now, where they differ is obviously the screen. The Sony Xperia Z has a 1080p screen, whereas the Nexus 4 has a 768p screen. And, you know, the higher resolution, the more GPU power you're going to need to push it. So that may have an effect. We'll check it out. First thing I'm going to do, guys, is clear out the memory by swiping these apps away. Another thing to mention, guys, is we are running Android 4.2.2 on the Nexus 4 and only Android 4.1.2 on the Sony Xperia Z, so it might make a difference. Anyway, let's do this. Let's open up Chrome. Try and open these at the same time. 1, 2, 3, go. And Nexus 4 won out there. The animation was faster and smoother for sure. If I go back to the home screen, we'll see how fast they get back. Again, the Nexus 4 wins. We'll open up Chrome one more time. 1, 2, 3, go. It is a hair quicker. The Nexus 4 is definitely a hair quicker and smoother than the Sony Xperia Z. We'll open up some more apps here, guys. We'll open up the Play Store. 1, 2, 3, go. Again, just a hair quicker, but they pretty much finished at the same time. I've already noticed that the Nexus 4 is smoother in its animation, and while using the Xperia Z, I have noticed some slowdowns that you just don't get on the Nexus 4. So yeah, let's open up some more apps. Let's open up the dialer. 1, 2, 3, go. Again, faster and smoother on the 4. We'll open up messaging. 1, 2, 3, go. It's just like a second delay on the Xperia Z, whereas the Nexus 4 gets straight into opening the app. Could be due to Android 4.2.2. It could be due to the fact that this has a skin, the Sony Xperia Z. It could be due to the fact that it has a 1080p screen, and it's just harder to do the animations. We'll open up a few more, guys. We'll open up YouTube here. 1, 2, 3, go. And the animation started on the Nexus 4 first, but the Sony Xperia Z did finish first. So that's a win for the Sony there. And what else should we try? We'll open up settings. 1, 2, 3, go. And the Nexus 4 again is a hair quicker and smoother. So there you have it, guys. The Nexus 4 is definitely the faster and smoother device out of the two. Now that could be down to the fact that Sony has its own skin that's slowing it down using valuable resources, but more likely it's due to the fact that it's a 1080p screen, so the GPU has to push more pixels in everything. So yeah, there you have it. Okay guys, time to test out web browsing performance. So I'm going to use Google Chrome because that comes as default for both devices. I've also updated it in the Play Store, so both are running the exact same version, so it's a fair test. I've also already cleared out the caches, so you just have to bear with me on that and trust me that I did do that. But yeah, let's type in some websites. Okay guys, and as you can see, I've got GSM Arena in both. I'm just going to click these. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the Xperia Z was a little bit in front, but the Nexus 4 did catch up and they pretty much finished at exactly the same time. We'll just go ahead and get the desktop version of this before we check it out. 1, 2, 3, go. And again, looks like the Xperia is a little bit in front. Saying that, it has appeared first on the Nexus 4, and more of it has appeared, but who's going to finish? The Nexus 4 has finished, and then followed by the Xperia Z. So very, very close to tell, but the Nexus 4 did just about win. We'll check it out. Performance is very good over here. Pinch to zoom has that bug where it doesn't recognize the gesture straight away, which is kind of annoying. Nonetheless, it's smooth. Over here, it doesn't have that problem. It's very smooth and very responsive. I like it better on here due to the fact that it doesn't have that bug. You can see that bug there. It doesn't pinch to zoom straight away, whereas it does on here. Other than that, the web performance is pretty much identical. Same speed, same sort of performance. We'll load up another website. Okay, guys, we've got Android Central here, so I'm just going to go ahead and click both of these. 1, 2, 3, go. And, well, it looked like it appeared first on Nexus 4, but then the whole page appeared first on the Xperia Z, so I'm going to give that the win here. But again, we'll go and click the full version, see who wins that. Xperia Z turned first. Showing the information first. Who's going to finish first, though? And the neck and neck. Nexus 4 finished. Xperia Z looks like it's having some problems finishing, which is strange considering they're running Chrome. Yeah. There we go, guys. It hasn't finished, but I'm just going to check out the performance. Again, pinch to zoom, very responsive. Few checkerboarding problems, but that's more to do with Chrome than it is to do with the device itself. So don't judge that too much. But yeah, performance is pretty similar, I've got to say, between them both. Actually, right there, it looks like the pinch to zoom is a little bit smoother on the on the Xperia Z. So there you go. We'll load up one more website, guys, to test. Okay, guys, I've got the Verge in the address bar. This is a pretty heavy website. Let's see how it does. 1, 2, 3, go. And it's off on the Xperia Z first. That was a definite win for the Xperia Z there. It did appear first. Let's go down and hit full site. 1, 2, 3, go. Pretty tight here. Pretty much identical in terms of speed, as you'd expect considering they both have the S4 Pro. And it's finished on the Nexus 4 again, and now it's finished on the Xperia. So they are pretty tight in terms of performance here. You can see it's very nice in terms of pinch to zooming over here. Page renders really well. Again, that checkerboarding is more due to Chrome than the device. And over here as well, it's very smooth. So you can see the browsing performance, guys, is pretty much identical. Okay, guys, so let's check out some browser benchmarks. I've loaded up SunSpider, or I've Googled SunSpider. I might as well use this as a speed test as well. Let's check it out. Pretty much identical. Let's run the test. And again, guys, I'll skip to the end because it's a boring one to watch. And there you have it, guys. I can say the Sony Xperia Z did finish a tad before. And by the way, lower is better in this score. You can see the Xperia Z scores 1326.8. The Nexus 4 scores 1438.4. Now, they're not worlds apart, but the Sony Xperia Z did beat it in the SunScript Java performance. So this is the JavaScript performance for the browser. And the Sony Xperia Z did beat out the Nexus 4 in this test. We'll go over to another benchmark here. Okay, guys, and I've loaded up BrowserMark. We'll do another speed test just for the funs. And here we go. Nexus 4 wins out there. It's loaded and ready to go. The Xperia Z we're waiting on. We'll just pick these. And we're ready over here as well now, so let's pick these as well. And we'll hit go at the same time, and again, guys, I'll skip. And they are off. Okay, guys, they finished, and I can tell you the Sony Xperia Z did finish first, but the score stand at 1886 for the Sony Xperia Z and 2142 for the Nexus 4. So that's interesting because if we compare these results, if we hit compare at the bottom here, well, you can definitely see it beats the Sony Xperia, and apparently, where are we here? Nonetheless, yes, guys, you can see it here. The Sony Xperia Z lost out to the Nexus 4 in this test. So, in terms of a winner for browser performance, guys, it's kind of hard to give you that. In the real-world performance, I think the Sony Xperia Z was a hair quicker, but I literally mean a small hair. In terms of benchmarks, the Sony Xperia Z beat the Nexus 4 in SunSpider, but it lost in BrowserMark. So I'm going to have to give this as a tie, guys. Okay, guys, it's time to wrap this video up. Let's talk about the conclusions. Who wins, who loses, which one should you get? Well, let me just mention the price point again. The Nexus 4 16GB version comes in at £279. The equivalent Sony Xperia Z, guys, comes in at about £500. Now, it's not as simple as just the price point. You know, if you're an LTE fan, you need LTE. The Sony Xperia Z is LTE compatible, whereas the Nexus 4 isn't, so that's a difference there. And on paper, guys, the specs of the Xperia Z do beat the Nexus 4. For example, the 1080p display, the 441 ppi, and the camera. But I'm pretty sure this video has shown you that there isn't that much difference between the two devices. You know, the Nexus 4 was actually faster in the UI. It was very good at browsing. They were both very good at browsing, but, you know, is the Sony Xperia Z £200 different? No, it isn't. You know, the internals are basically the same, guys. You've got the S4 Pro, you've got 2 GB of RAM in both devices, so why not go for the cheaper option? Now, does the 1080p screen really make a difference? I don't think so. I actually think the Nexus 4 screen is better. The contrasts are better. The colors pop a little bit more. The viewing angles of the Sony Xperia aren't great, I've got to say myself. And if you want to see a screen comparison, guys, I did link it in the beginning of the video. I also linked a benchmark video between these two that I couldn't include in the full versus video because it was a little bit long. I think the Nexus 4 is an excellent device. I think the Sony Xperia Z is an excellent device. It has some great features. Its camera is absolutely fantastic. If you're a camera fan, go for the Xperia Z because the Nexus 4 camera just won't stack up. And it being waterproof and dustproof is a massive plus as well. You know, you can do whatever you want with this. You can go and play with it in the rain. You can throw it in a pool and it'll be fine. You can't say the same for the Nexus 4. In terms of performance though, guys, I'm giving the Nexus 4 the win here because it does everything the Sony Xperia Z does, faster, smoother, and at a cheaper price. So I think the Nexus 4 just has to win. Obviously, you're getting the stock Android experience here versus a Sony skin experience. So the good thing about the skin experience is it's a little bit geared towards mainstream. You know, some stuff's already set up. Whereas the stock Android, the advantages are you get the latest Google updates, but it's a little bit of a learning curve because there isn't as many things you can do without modding it or, you know, custom ROMs and stuff like that. So there you go, guys. Let me know in the description what you think and who wins out of this. I'm sticking with my guns. I'm going to say the Nexus 4 should win. I think it is the better device for its price. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, guys. See you later.